actually know how to say the name out loud without sounding foolish.
Oh, definitely. The mechanics come first.
Right. If we're going to talk about Dominique McElligott, we need the basics.
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit, when I first looked at the surname specifically, my brain immediately tried to apply, like, 3 different languages to it at once.
Well, let's take the first name first, which usually feels a bit more familiar to people, though, I mean, the stress can still vary by region.
Yeah. How that?
According to the phonetic guide we're using, it's Dom-un.
Dominique.
Yeah. Right. You want the stress heavily on the first and last syllables. It gives it a balanced, almost percussive rhythm. Dom-un.
That part feels pretty manageable. But then we hit the surname, McElligott.
Yep, the big one.
I look at that double T at the end, and my immediate instinct is to make it sound French.
Oh, of course, that's super common.
Right. My brain wants to drop the hard consonants and say McElligott, or maybe like McElligott. Why does that specific cluster of letters cause such a universal misfire for English speakers?
Well, what's fascinating here is that it comes down to how our brains handle phonetic pattern matching.
Okay, pattern matching. How so?
When you read, you aren't sounding out every single letter like a child learning the alphabet, you know? Yeah. Your brain relies on a cached library of phonetic rules.
Right, we just skim and predict.
Exactly. So if you've been exposed to French naming conventions like the name Margot or the word escargot, your brain sees an OTT or an OT at the end of a word and automatically assumes the final consonant is silent.
Oh, wow. So it's just trying to be helpful.
Pretty much. Your brain is trying to save you processing time. It applies a known rule to an unknown variable.
But applying a French rule to an anglicized Irish name is, it's like trying to use a completely different operating system. It just crashes.
It totally crashes, which is precisely why the source document provides such a brilliant, straightforward anchor for the pronunciation.
The got it trick.
Yes. It tells us the ending is pronounced got, like the phrase got it. McElligott or Mick I got.
So the middle is the most important part.
Right. The anchor of the whole name is that the primary stress lands firmly on the ELL, and then you finish with a hard, undeniable got.
McElligott. It has a real bounce to it when you lean into that middle syllable.
It does. Very rhythmic.
But that brings up a glaring question for me. If we aren't supposed to pronounce it with a soft French ending, why on earth is it spelled with 2 T's in the first place? It feels like a trap.
Oh, it absolutely looks like a trap. But that spelling is actually our first clue into the deeper history of the name. It's a phonetic scar.
A phonetic scar?
Yeah. To understand why it looks like a trap, we have to look at the name's Gaelic origin. The modern spelling is an anglicization. It's basically a byproduct of English clerks trying to document Irish speakers.
Okay, so what was the original?
The original Gaelic form found in the historical sources is McElligott.
McElligott. Wait, I'm looking at the spelling of that in our notes, and it doesn't look anything like McElligott. I mean, visually, the leap is massive.
It is massive, because they belong to 2 completely different phonetic worlds.
Oh, right, because they're entirely different alphabets, essentially.
Exactly. The Irish Gaelic alphabet historically had fewer letters than the English alphabet, and it used consonant clusters to represent guttural sounds that, well, they simply don't exist in standard English.
Right, so an English clerk would be totally lost.
Completely. Imagine a 16th century English record keeper sitting in a damp room listening to a local farmer identify himself as McElligott.
He has no idea what to write down.
None. The clerk doesn't speak Gaelic. He just has to jam those foreign sounds into the English alphabet as best as he can.
He's basically forcing a square linguistic peg into a round hole.
That's a great way to picture it. The clerk hears the hard stop at the end of Ulibagoid and just throws a double T on the end of the English spelling.
To make sure people actually pronounce the end.
Exactly. To ensure other English speakers hit that consonant hard, they spell it McElligott to force the English tongue to approximate the Irish sound.
That makes so much sense.
So yeah, the spelling isn't French at all. It's just the clumsy fingerprint of colonial administration.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because unlike occupational names we see all the time, like, your bakers, your smiths, your millers, this isn't telling us what someone did for a living.
No, good at all.
So what does McElligott actually translate to?
It translates directly to son of Uliagoid.
Okay. And what is Uliagoid?
Well, Uliagoid is a diminutive form of the name Ulick.
Ulick. Got it.
And Ulick itself is actually a Gaelicized version of William.
Wait, really? William?
Yep. So when you strip it all the way down, McElligott literally means descendant of little Ulick or descendant of little William.
So it's a purely patronymic system. You aren't identified by your trade or like a landscape feature near your house. You're identified strictly by your bloodline.
Exactly. It's all about who your ancestors were.
But hold on. If Ulick comes from William, and William is a Norman name, doesn't that mean the Gaelic root of this Irish name actually has foreign origins?
Yeah, now you're seeing how tangled the history really gets.
It's a total maze.
It really is. Yes, the adoption of the name William turning into Ulick and then Uligoid shows that these cultural lines were blurring centuries ago.
Oh, wow.
In medieval Ireland, your identity, your legal rights, and your ability to own land were all intrinsically tied to your lineage.
So a name was like a deed to a property?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Claiming to be the descendant of little Ulick wasn't just a fun family trivia fact. It was a legal claim. It was an announcement to everyone in the region about which specific power structure you belonged to.
Which naturally leads us to the geography of it all. Because if asserting you are little Ulick's descendant is essentially a territorial claim, where was this territory?
Right. Where do they actually live?
Yeah. Our sources anchor this family in the southwest of Ireland, specifically County Kerry, around Tralee and North Kerry. And the document uses a very specific word to describe them. A sept.
Yes, a sept. S-E-P-T.
I always hear that word thrown around in Irish history, but what actually is a sept? Is it just like a massive extended family reunion, or is it something more formalized?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's much more formalized than just an extended family. Think of a sept as a localized, quasi-political entity.
Like a mini-state.
Exactly. They operated almost as miniature sovereign structures within the broader Gaelic kingdom system. A sept collectively held territory under the Brehon laws.
The Brehon laws, that's the ancient native Irish legal system, right?
Spot on. They had their own internal hierarchies, they could field their own localized military forces, and they were the primary economic drivers of their specific area.
Wow. So they were the local government, the major land developers, and the regional militia all rolled into one.
Basically, yes.